Hey, what's up, guys? Always muted. If it's not starting with a muted microphone, it's not really a sit down and shut up stream, is it? So, hey, welcome everybody to Sit Down and Shut Up. Hey, Lynn, how's it going? Or I don't know if you go by Ash here, but I know it's you, Lynn. Don't worry. Um, anyway, welcome in, guys. It's the second round today. Decided to do two streams today to help out. Kind of do some of the queue. So this evening we have MexicanAvenger. They are a Terry main. And I believe they're in the 1500s, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check the MR there. Maybe they were 1500-ish, something like that. I don't remember exactly now. Or maybe it's 13. I don't remember, but we'll ask them. They say they have a problem generating pressure and fall back a couple options. So let's bring them on, and then we can talk them a chat with them here. Hey, Mexican Avenger, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. How's it going?
Good. How's it going?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Sorry, a little late. Life of a dad, I suppose. The kids don't always follow schedules as best you can, anyway. But and I appreciate you your patience there. So anyway, I was looking at the thing you had sent. So you're maining Terry now, right? And you're an
Right,
MR,
right.
and you're saying that you have some issues with generating pressure. You tend to fall into like kind of one or two options, and if that doesn't work, you kind of struggle a little bit, right? Does that sound in line?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So let me get into a custom room here, and we'll invite you. So.
Let let me.
I thought I have you on here. Maybe I don't. Let's see. No, that's a code. We want the name.
Let me get this opened up.
Cool. Ugh.
Just getting ready to accept it.
Yep. All right. Cool. So just for the sake of the show, I don't know if you've seen it before or not, but basically what we're gonna do today is we'll run our first to three. In here, kind of, I'll get a sense of where you're at and what things you may or may not be struggling with. We'll do after that. We'll do a little replay review. One of the games against me, and then potential, and one of the. I know you sent me a replay to look at. I know you mentioned I've been doing ranked, so that's totally fine. I just wanted to see, a game where you're playing someone, kind of at a similar level, and we can kind of point out what differences are there. After that, we could do some lab work. So if there's a particular situation or two that I think is worth kind of diving into and going through that, we can definitely do that too. And then afterwards, if there's time, we'll run another first to three, kind of see if any of the adjustments that we talk about work for you, right? So if that all sounds reasonable to you, go ahead and queue up, and we'll go from there. What I mentioned is that I'm going to be in Discord deafened, mostly so that I don't impact anything you're doing, because I tend to talk a lot during these things. And I may not rematch right away as I continue to talk in between rounds. So if it takes a little bit for the rematch to go off, don't worry, I'm still here. Just talking away at the stream so that when you look at this later, if you have time, you can see what I was thinking while we were playing. So,
Okay.
All right. Good luck.
Good luck.
Make sure my scene is on the right thing. Cool. All right. Cool. So, Messenger, I played them before, a good amount actually, in both NFC lobby nights and kind of in rooms in Fight Rice. They have a good Terry. They play pretty solid. So I'm interested to see what they think they're having issues with, and we'll go from there. Oh, early reversal. I like it. Yeah, not safe at that range, I think. I'm not sure how minus it is, but I always end up jabbing because I'm never sure. Okay, so it looks like they were maybe mashing there. They got counter hit on that setup. So let's see. You know, right now I feel like they're playing a little tight. Maybe a couple of drops there. Okay, very reversal heavy, I think, right? And I think an option is actually fine overall if I've been playing fairly aggressive. I swear I have a hard time distinguishing those. Okay, does not tech. DI. Yeah, that throw whiff there at the end. Okay, so I kind of see what they're talking about in terms of generating pressure. I think in neutral, Terry is one of those characters that kind of feels like Ken. You kind of have to fish for a low forward or something like that to drive rush to kind of get the party started into like all of the moves, right? Because of the corner carry and everything else. They didn't really get too many opportunities to pressure man Oki, so I'm curious to see what that looks like. But right now it feels like their neutral is a little bit loose because they're really kind of going for these... like they're not really pressing buttons, right? They're just kind of going for like spin, burn knuckle. Oh, there you go. There's one. And they don't really tech on defense either, right? So, oh. Oh, very nice. Good mix. Yeah, the anti-air is a little bit tough, I think. Oh man. Speaking of bad anti-airs. Okay. Driver's throw, good. Oh, very nice. So yeah, they don't really tech, right? I've tried to shimmy a couple of times, they're not teching, so I think defensive. Oh, nice check. Nice. That's a really good response to drive rush is the derev it because the meter parity is better, or not meter parity, sorry, but the meter spend is worth it for you. Like 2 bars of 3. Oh, that clipped. Okay. Oh, okay. So again, very reversal heavy, right? In terms of Oki, or sorry, Oki, defending Oki. So I should probably adjust to that. But they don't have any more meter now, right? Alright, we'll just spend it here. The few times that I've been able to actually finish out the round, it looks like it's mostly on whiff throws, so there might be some spacing things we can talk about. But for the most part right now, they're not really trying to walk in and press buttons and sort of play footsies. They're usually mostly using like... that move is actually pretty good. But they're also using a lot of burn knuckle, right? Nice. Reversal here, probably? Oh, and I dropped my combo at the end? Dang it. Dang it. Okay. So again, reversal heavy, right? I think that's really the main thing right now. So if they get knocked down, if opponent kind of plays a passive Oki or goes for like a delayed jab, delayed button, that's going to beat them every time. Shimmies as well. I mean, shimmies unintentionally because, you know, shimmy beats multiple things, right? So... But it's mostly spacing, I think, right? In neutral. Oh! Oh, I'm in trouble here. Yeah, a little bit anti-air problems, I guess. Oh, nice. Very nice. There we go. Uh-oh. Oh, nice. I'm dead. Okay, I probably should have went for the overhead, generally speaking there, but it's all good. Hey, Flash, what's good? Ah. If I could DP, that'd be cool, huh? Oh, shit. Yep. Also, I think there might be some button selections in neutral. You can see that if I'm standing kind of at an uncomfortable space for them, which is just outside of their sweep range, they're not quite sure how to react to that, right? And I think that just might just be a neutral thing. Like, maybe they're not used to pressing or trying to press buttons in that manner, so... Right there, like pressing a 7-frame while they're minus. You're right here, right? They're very... It seems like... It feels like they're very uncomfortable. Oh, that's a nice whip punish. Nice throw. Nice. Alright. So I'm gonna try to bait a reversal. Let's see. Nope. Oh, I bet it all on black. Oh. Okay. That was a little bit scrambly at the end there, but anyway. That's alright. We'll bring it back on. Hey, how'd that go? It was crazy.
Good. Yeah, the ending was crazy. I was kind of slapping myself a little bit after that one.
Yeah, well, it's all right. That happens. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, what I'm thinking now is looking at what you were talking about and what you're struggling with. I can see why it feels like you're not able to really generate pressure. A lot of it is mostly because Terry in neutral is kind of like Ken in some ways, right? You kind of fish for a low forward or a button, drive rush, and then Oki is how Terry kind of wins it, right? So I don't play that much Terry, so I can't really tell you all the setups and stuff, but let's take a look at some of the replays and we can go from there. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think that was kind of the main thing, though, was that I was, for a lot of the games where I would land a hit in neutral, you would kind of be stuck in the corner, right? Because that's what Ken does. He puts you in the corner after one interaction. And then what would happen is you were stuck in the corner and not really able to effectively get out of it because I felt like you were uncomfortable trying to press buttons to get out, right? So let's take a look at one of those replays here. And then what would happen is you were stuck in the corner and not really able to effectively get out of it because I felt like you were uncomfortable trying to get out. Right. And then let me share my screen in Discord as well so that you can see it without any lag. There we go. All right, so hopefully just be see my screen there. That way you can. It's a little bit. It's live now. So let's take a look at this replay. I kind of want to look at the third one too. Let's add that to this list. I think this one. I think this one probably. All right. All right, let's take a look at this replay. So let me know if you can see my screen on Discord.
Yeah, so I'm having a weird issue where I can't see it because it says the room's full. Because I'm streaming. I'm on the voice channel from my PS5.
Okay.
So I'm watching you from I'm watching the Twitch stream.
Okay. Okay. So there's gonna be a little bit of delay. That's fine. I guess we can work through that.
I'm streaming. I'm on the voice channel from my PS5. Okay. So I'm watching you.
That's an interesting issue though. It won't let you view the screen. Anyway. All right. One sec. All right. So there's gonna be a little delay. I'll try my best to kind of keep that in mind as I go through this, but we'll go from there. So let's start this out. Okay, driver's throw. Okay, so something I noticed, and this might be a you thing, I'm not sure, but you're very reversal heavy, right? You tend to select aggressive options when you get up. You very rarely throw tech. Instead, you would tend to go for reversals or other kind of meter spend options in defense, right? And that's normally okay, I think, if the opponent is not adjusting to that from you and you're able to get them off of you a lot with that and steal games with it, totally fine. Just remember you're taking a bit of a risk here, right? Every time you do that. So early on doing this probably makes a lot of sense right now. In my head, I'm like, oh crap, they're getting reversal. But it also means my pressure is going to adapt to you doing that. So you have to kind of be ready for the opponent to adapt to you doing this on defense. Be ready with things like wake up blow forwards or, you know, wake up buttons or that type of thing when they try to shimmy you. So. Right, so you go for the drive rush here into the stand heavy punch. Good, right? I can't do anything about that. I have to block or hold it. You try to go for perfect parry. It doesn't quite work out. But you're a plus here, right? If I'm not mistaken. And then you take a turn, right? Use your plus frames. I have to hold this, right? I can't press, so that's good. I block that standing, right? So now I'm spaced out. Your refresher is effectively over, right? And then we're back to this neutral spacing here, right? I whiff a jab. And we go from there, right? So what happens here, like, I'm sure this happens to you more often than not, where like you'll drive rush in with some sort of pressure string, it gets blocked and it kind of ends. You have to be okay with that, I think. A lot of players won't press against buttons, especially when you're drive rushing in like that, right? Because you're most likely going to be plus. And even if I didn't know, I would assume you're plus because of the drive rush, right? It's pretty rare for moves to not be plus on block after drive rush, typically, right? So, you know, I may run into perspective. So what that means though is that if I'm not delay teching or doing some other option there, you could potentially use those plus frames to try to get a throw, right? Go for a strike throw. So after this situation here, again, this is first interaction, so I don't mind this at all. But if this happens a second time, you could do something like press after the stand heavy punch is blocked, you could just walk up throw, right? Potentially. Just to see if I'm delay teching or not, right? Because you're trying to get a sense of how I'm defending things. And you can actually see in my inputs here, I'm not really... I try to do a delay jab here, in case you do walk up and try to go for a throw. But I'm not doing any delay techs or anything like that. I'm just kind of blocking, right? So now that you have that information, you can try to change up your offense the next time this happens to go for like a drive rush throw after after the heavy punch. Or even just drive rush throw, like raw, right? And these are ways that you can generate pressure off of knockdowns like that, which I think you're struggling with right now. Because every time you drive rushed in, it looked like you were just pressing the stand heavy punch, which is fine. But after that was blocked, you're kind of like, oh, well, it didn't hit, so I don't know how I'm supposed to follow up there, right? And one of the ways you can do that or mix that up is by mixing up the option you choose when you come in, right? So, right. So a lot of this, bird knuckle and neutral, unfortunately it was not safe, right? It wasn't spaced far enough to where the bird knuckle is plus. So you do have to be careful, right? I'm going to punish, if I see this happen and I don't notice the screen shake at all, I'm typically going to go for a jab here and it's going to be punch counter, right? So you do have to be careful against players that'll do that. Sometimes players don't know that it's -4. I even said it on stream. I'm not quite sure how minus it is, but I know I can jab it, right? So it turns out it is -4, so I can jab this. Alright. So you just elected to block there, that's fine. Alright, now you're in the corner here, right? So this is where it gets a little tough. Block is good, right? Block the light string. And it looked like you tried to check here, right? So... Right, so from here, this is actually a very... I don't know if you can actually check this in particular. It's I think like the gap here is not wide enough for you to actually do anything. So there's the block. You're still in recovery. I do drive rush. My button comes out, and it looks like you're able to at least get the startup of your light kick here, right? And my button comes out here. So I don't know if you can check this, like crouching medium kick, drive rush into a button from me. Unless it's a bigger button, but I like to do a stand medium punch, which is not as big a button. But the gap is wide enough for you to try to press something and you get counter hit for it, right? So, if you are going to try to check an option here, like use an option to check this, I think it'd have to be some sort of reversal. So D-Rev or ODDP or something like that, like you'd mash out one of those options. I think checking with them normal here is going to be hard. It may, if not impossible in those situations. So You know, just keep that in mind because you kind of take this hit here and then leads to a combo, right? So I'm assuming that you're mashing crouching medium kick here. Is that what that is? Let's see.
Yeah, I was trying to kind of get my way out of there.
Okay. Right. So that's my setup. Right. Lands meaty. +7. Right. So yeah, I think you're very active on defense, right? So you do have to be careful about mashing buttons, especially like a slower button like crouching medium kick for Terry, which I think is 8 frames if not mistaken.
Yeah, it's 8 frames.
You have to be careful about that early in the set, right? The reason is because this is a pretty standard setup for Ken to get a meaty stand heavy punch here, so it's gonna catch anything you press, right, on your wake up. And if I'm applying this kind of meaty pressure with like meaty strikes and meaty throws, wake up, it's gonna beat wake up buttons every time, right? Especially now in, you know, even in 1300, 1400, 1500 master, even in diamond, honestly, even in like high platinum, offenses are really tight, right? Everyone runs a really solid offense for the most part. Like if you mashed against an offense in platinum even, right, you'd probably end up getting killed. Right? Like if I were to do that right now, go to platinum, take my character, go to platinum right now and mash in every Oki situation, I'd probably die because those setups are always so tight, right? So wake up buttons can work, but you do have to be in a situation where it would, right? I haven't really rotated my offensive options just yet because they continue to work on you, right? I'm able to kind of apply pressure here, right? So on defense here, just be willing to block, which you have been doing. If you wanted to reversal here, it probably would have been okay too, although the meter situation is a little tough. But again, just blocking or delay teching might not be a bad idea here, right? Especially against, again, someone that is continuously doing meaties, and that's going to beat your wake up buttons, right? So additionally, if you are going to mash something to challenge, I would normally suggest like a 4-frame move. So like, I think that's crouching jab for Terry, right? Typically, crouching medium kick wake up is a response to a shimmy, which I haven't really done to you yet, right? So you do have to be mindful of the options that I'm showing you. So honestly, in that round, what ended up happening was you lost one neutral interaction and ended up in the corner for it, right? And some of that kind of comes back to the burn knuckle that was in neutral, right? It wasn't quite spaced, so I was able to land a punish, and then Ken gets kind of absurd corner carry off a 4-frame punish. So it puts you in a situation that was difficult to navigate, right? So I think we'll see the rest of this replay and kind of see how the neutral plays out. But I think all of that snowballed from the neutral interactions we had, right? So. Counter poke. Right, so here. Definitely minus here, right? I don't know if that was just like a misconfirm or...
that was a misconfirm,
yeah. I think so, right? So no big deal. Misconfirm, that happens. Alright, so Ken overhead here. Just have to be ready for it, right? Conversion, right? And then I apply the same meaty setup as last time, and you reversal this time. So this is good, right? If I'm not respecting this option as much as I probably should be, then this is fine, right? Good read. All right, back to neutral here. So here's where I think you are struggling a little bit, right? Like, what do I do in this situation here? How do I navigate this? So what I've seen Terry's do for the most part is they either play closer, so they stand in the crouching medium kick range and fish for one of those, or they stand where you're kind of standing and throw fireballs to try to get me to parry, right? Because this distance, the power waves dissipate, right? If you do the right one, one of them, I can't always distinguish it, but one of them dissipates at that range, and then you just walk up and throw me, right? When I parry, that's the parry bait, right? Or you can drive rush behind it too, I think, if it's correct, if it's the slow version and I just block, right? But typically the most stable-ish way to get in would be for you to just walk forward here. So after this, continue to walk forward, right? Like Ken's effective range is like here-ish, right? So for he's standing, if I put my cursor like right here, this is probably about the tip of his stand heavy kick range, right? Right here. And then for crouch medium kick, it's like right here-ish, right? Something like that. For crouch medium kick. So you can stand just outside of that range and kind of be okay with you probably won't get hit by anything, right? As long as you don't walk into that range too closely, right? Similarly for me, I'm trying to stay out of your effective range, and I'm noticing that you're standing farther away, right? So when we are standing further away, the only thing that would kind of threaten me would be for you to do some sort of neutral skip, like whatchamacallit, like a crack shoot, right? Or a burn knuckle, right? So one of those two things. So I'm kind of trying to mitigate that a little bit, but you are throwing fireballs here to keep me out, right? So I'm kind of stuck standing at that space. And because I can't distinguish the difference between them, I get hit. So I will say that DIs here, probably not great. Better players than me will react to that for sure. I'm old, so I don't react, but likely here, like if this landed, though I stand heavy punch, I would be able to cancel this into DI, right? So I'm pressing a cancel button here. Now, if this is a read, like a read on me not pressing me pressing like a stand heavy kick or something, then I think that's totally fine. But again, it's a little bit risky to throw this out, right? So it's got to be like a hard read, I think, when you do this. So like if I'm doing nothing but pressing stand heavy kick and stand medium kick over and over again, then it's probably okay to make this read. But you know, it's something that you have to be careful of, right? You got to make sure you pick your battles for that. I don't react, fortunately for me, I guess. Unfortunately for you, I don't get DI'd here. So, but we were back to neutral, right? Go for that again. I see. I feel like that's kind of how your games probably have been going so far, is that you can both kind of standing outside of each other's ranges, and then you land a burn knuckle knockdown, right? And then you're able to drive rush in for pressure, right? And then when this doesn't work, it's like, oh crap, what do I do? Right? So, okay. Plus, with the throw, unfortunately. And then you get punished for it. So, I think, let's see. So, yeah. So you're +2 here, but too far for a throw. So I'm not sure if that's just like a space thing. Like, could you space that, like, throw the overhead a little bit later to see if that would work? Let's see. So I wonder if it's because I blocked standing, or if I'm not in the corner, right? If I was cornered there, I think the pushback is not as much. So if you look at how much pushback there was off the overhead. This is overhead, right? So... Right, so you're point blank, but you press this, right? And then if you look how much space there is here, I slide pretty far, right? This is actually kind of far overall for that, right? So this might work in the corner if it's like point blank and I'm stuck against here, don't slide back. But it seems like at this spacing, it looked like it might space you out. Because you go for a throw pretty much immediately. You get off by a frame, but that's not a big deal. It's not like I'm going to be able to marker walk out of this, right? I'm not actually pressing back, or I'm holding down back, right? So you have to lab this out and see, right, if that's something that will always give you a strike throw mix, or if it's just gonna whiff in that scenario, right? Again, in the corner, if I was cornered, like actually cornered, and it's just no pushback, I think it would work. So, right, and then I think you get super here. Right, so again, I think if we look at the neutral interactions, I think that where you're gonna have to start you know, the burn knuckle stuff and the crack shoot stuff, the neutral skip things, I think are great, and when they work very well. But against someone that is playing a little bit more, you know, grounded footsies instead of trying to just check that stuff, if they're able to check those things from you, then you have to play that neutral game, right? You know, for better or worse. So there might be some things we can do in terms of spacing and where you stand in order to help facilitate that, right? We saw this in an example here where you were standing didn't really threaten any of Terry's buttons, right? So like you couldn't really stand medium kick me, can't really crouch and medium kick me, right? Or stand medium punch, right? You weren't really able to poke from those ranges that you were standing at. So that means that I could either, like me as the opponent, can kind of choose where I want to stand, right? Do I want to stand outside your fireball range, or do I want to walk in and close the gap, right? So, so yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at the replay you sent me. I'm curious to see how that game went. I haven't actually looked at it, so this will be live for me. We'll go from there. So, while I'm loading that, what do you think so far?
Yeah, I need to get used to more comfortable fighting with my normals and getting up close and personal. Not like too close and personal, but like I need to get closer.
Yeah, you need to be willing to brawl a little bit, right? Oh, yeah. Bison, huh? Let's see. So this should be an example here, right? Bison has some good buttons, but a lot of times he's using scissor kicks and stuff to kind of get in, and then just kind of, command jump, comes down, doubles reverse. So let's see how this goes. Okay, okay. I dig it. Ooh. Gotta get that conversion though, right? The tackle conversion, if I'm not mistaken, so. Okay. So, again, I think the issue with this particular response isn't so much that he blocked it, right? I don't mind reversaling in that scenario, especially after they just drive rush, right? So, right, do that. They drive rush. You're a little late on the D-Rev. That's okay, right? I like the idea. The hard part is there's a little bit of meter. Well, actually, your meter situation is actually fine. I think about it, right? You didn't actually, that wasn't a drive rush cancel at the beginning. Sorry, that's my bad. So this is raw drive rush, only 1 bar. Hits, totally fine. So like here, I don't mind this, right? I don't mind the D-Rev option. If you're trying to D-Rev off of the green flash and it happened to be a little late, that's totally fine. Unfortunately, gets baited. Blocked, I mean. That's a good sweep. A little bit risky, but it seemed like the Bison was not doing anything for some reason. Did you whiff punish like a crushing heavy punch from them? What happened there? Huh, okay, caught him moving. Okay, that's fine. Alright, go for throw. Good. You woke up parry. Alright, so that was good, right? So, good Oki there. Went for a meaty throw. I think that's totally acceptable and totally fine. Then get checked, huh? That's unfortunate. I don't know if this actually back throw into drive rush. I don't know how real that is for Terry. Let's see. You drive rush, and then your stand heavy punch gets checked here, right? So it might be worth making sure that that back throw gives you enough space to do this. Clearly, the Bison just presses their crouching light punch to check, and it works, right? So the other option would be to use a different button at a drive rush here. I'm not sure what is good for Terry in this situation, like besides stand heavy punch. But there might be something else you can do here if they're trying to check you and it's too close. So, okay, scissor kicks +2, right? You gotta guess. Guess reversal, right? So, again, I don't hate that decision. If you had a read on this Bison and they've been very active on their Oki, but they managed to block here. Is this like a second or third game of a set or something, or?
It might be either the first or second. I can't remember.
Okay.
I just know that the Bison really likes his scissor kicks.
Okay, right on. So anyway, you go for an aggressive option here, and what did they actually do? They actually went for nothing. Right? I think they just blocked. Oh, they were shimmying. Okay, so they're holding back to try to shimmy you off the delay tech, right? So if you had just blocked here, they would have backed up. If you went for like a delay jab, right, that also would have worked here. Delay tech would have gotten blown up though, right? So the unfortunate thing is that delay tech and reversal lose to the same thing. So the fact that he was just shimmying you, expecting you to delay tech in your reversal, just means that it worked out for him, right? But yeah, this is actually very tough for most players, right? In general, because Bison gets a +2 situation here, so his strike throw is real, so you have to guess. And again, you made a decision and you're decisive with it. I respect it. It's good. But again, it is unfortunate that he shimmied you here and it beat it, right? So you could just elect to block, take the throw here, and kind of just be okay with that too. Because then, reset the situation, because mid-screen and back roll, they have to spend meter to get back in, which they only have 1 bar left, right? So that would be kind of risky for them to do that. That could be an option for you instead. But sometimes you do have to be willing to block, right? You don't always have to reversal. Or do some sort of active option, right? Sometimes blocking is the way to go. Or at least you should be probably selecting that more often until you have a better read on what the opponent does, right? So, unfortunate. Okay. Bomb plants. Right, and now you're burned out, right? Ouch. Did you go for the delay tech? Right, so... Yeah, it looks like your delay tech is a little bit early. Right? Ends up throw comes out, right? So on a delay tech, typically you want to delay that a little bit longer. Maybe wait. You're supposed to wait 5 to 7 frames, so a little bit longer is probably fine. So Get hit. It's a lock. Wake up power charge. Works. Go for a safe jump. I think a safe jump, right?
That is a safe jump, yeah.
Okay. Bison doesn't bite. Not that a Bison can do anything there, right? They have to level 1. Right? They don't have a yeah, reversal or anything, but anyway, so then you get counter hit here because why? Okay, so should be +2. You walk up, try to throw, I'm guessing. Yeah. Walk up, throw, and then they just kind of challenge with a crouching medium punch, right? So, and then I think you die from this probably. Oh! Okay. A little scrambly here. Oh, good reversal, actually. So, that whole situation is a little scrambly, but it looks like you came out on top, more or less. So if you, let's take a look at the situation right, right? Life is about the same. Both about one hit away, like one combo hit away from dying, basically. Both in burnout here, right? You're going to be out of burnout a lot sooner than they are, right? They just burned out. And meter situation is more or less the same, right? So this meter here is kind of irrelevant for the most part because the next hit's going to kill anyway, right? So unless they do it in neutral for some reason, right, it's not really a big factor here. So now the situation is, can you successfully get in on the Bison without the Bison getting in on you potentially, like using scissor kicks or something like that to get through. So let's see how this goes. Okay, that's good. 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 All right. Ooh. Okay, so that worked out, right? They probably... That's probably Chip, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, good. So that scramble situation at the end, and then the neutral at the end there, that was good, right? You were decisive. You used your tools to get in before Bison could use their tools to get in, and then just took advantage of that, right? So that was good. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that they're checking you with a crouching light punch here, so I'm guessing this back throw. Oh, you went for a throw. Okay. Okay. So I'm guessing this back throw here into drive rush is not exactly real, right? It's actually pretty checkable, right? So if you are going to do that, just be careful about how, like when you actually do it. It might be more viable in the corner because the pushback is different in the corner. But back throw here, you could also just be okay with blocking, right? So use back throw and then just walk, take up space, right? They have to get up and you'd be about here when you get up, when they get up, right? So then this is pretty good for you, right? Like if you look at the spacing here, like you can actually kind of threaten some buttons and you didn't have to spend any meter to get there, right? So that's really more of the neutral side, right? I get pressing your advantage here, and this is a good thing, a lot of cases, right? To be able to kind of continue being, continue with the aggression here. But if you're getting checked by a mash jab here in that situation, it could be that this is not a real thing, right? Because they did check you the previous time this happened, right? So they're probably like, oh, I checked them last time with this, I'm gonna do it again, right? So, okay, scissor kicks, -5. Good, yeah, that's good. I think you're a little late. I think this should hit normally, but that's okay. Very nice. Okay, -5 out of range. Good. Ooh, okay. So if you look at what's happening here, right, and how you're able to navigate this here, this is more of what I would like to see, right? So see how you're kind of standing in like your effective stand medium kick range, and you're kind of like outside of Bison's range here, right? So you push this button, there's pushback, right? And then you press your button, and his button whiffs, right? So the spacing you're at means that his button will whiff, your button will reach, right? Because of the extended hurt box typically that these buttons have, right? Right. So this is good, right? This is what we want to see in neutral, right? So you're able to poke your opponent effectively, counter poke them as they're pressing buttons, right? Using your stand medium kick, standing at an effective range, because this is a good range, right? Or it's a stand heavy kick rather. But this is a good range for you, right? So you press that, it hits. This is good, right? So what happens after you establish this kind of neutral game is that your opponent will now be a little bit afraid to press buttons, right? So you're winning a lot of these poke counter poke interactions, right? So what eventually happens, or what we'll eventually get to, is that if you continue to win these, when you walk forward, they'll just be passive. They'll either block or maybe they'll walk back, right? Maybe they'll try to get out of your space. And once that starts happening, that's when you can start tagging people with the low forward, right? Because you tag them moving back. Alternatively, they could just get aggressive here, try to walk forward into your space because they're tired of getting hit, right? And they want to hit you back. And that's when you can check them with your crouching medium punch or crouching light kick or crouching medium kick, right? You do those buttons and go into drive rush, right? But I think what you need to be trying to get more of is more of these types of wins, right? So where like you're not exactly converting combos, but what you're doing is you're establishing that you control this space, right? So that when you walk into their space, they feel threatened, right? Like when you played me, and we were kind of going, in neutral here. When I would walk forward into your space, it would kind of elicit a response from you, right? Like you either blocked, maybe down backed, maybe backed up, but you weren't necessarily trying to counter poke me all the time, right? It was like you kind of had to respect what I was doing when I walked forward. And this is how that gets into play, right? Is that you land a couple of these counter hit whiff punishes, and now the opponent has to respect what you're doing, right? Because you've shown that you can do that. So you have to adapt, right, or die, because they keep doing this, and if you keep hitting them like this, they'll die eventually, right? They'll run out of health at some point. So yeah, no, this was good though. This is what we want to hopefully see more of, is that this kind of standing at the mid range and trying to poke with these buttons. Now, obviously, the caveat here is that these buttons will typically get beat by DI, right? So if someone DIs you here, you're gonna eat it, right? Punish counter DI. So you do have to be careful if you play against a player that happens to make those reads. But I think as you climb up in MR, that happens to go down, right? Because people don't like because it's very easy to counter DI, right? And bait that. So once the opponent has a read that you like to do that, then it becomes pretty baitable. So you just have to be careful and be paying attention to what your opponent's doing, right? But if the opponent's not DIing you, go for this, right? It's totally fine. Good. Not so great on the drop, but is what it is. Okay, bomb plant. Okay, situation. Parry. Okay, that's good. D-Rev. Okay, this is good. I think that if the Bison has been being kind of aggressive in this scenario, so parrying the D-Rev I think is fine. The issue, I wouldn't necessarily call it an issue, but you do end up a little bit behind in bar after this, right? In terms of drive. But I think it's okay. One bar, you'll live. So reset back to neutral, right? That was good. Okay. Ooh, that sucks. Right, get shimmied, unfortunately. So, yeah, delay tech can be a good option, but it's a nice parry. That's so funny. You parry it, you whiff a throw, and then you're able to throw them still. That's hilarious. That's fantastic. That's a good change from the Capcom side, though. I think before they used to hit you if you parried that. Now you get a little more on the second hit, so it's totally fine. So this is good. You're in a really good position now. So let's see. Right. So if you look at the situation here, meter-wise, positioning, right? You're both one hit away from killing. Like you definitely can route into level 2 to kill him here if you land a hit. Maybe even level 3 if you land a couple of hits here. But this is kill range for the most part. So is he, right? I think if you level 3 as you cashes out here, he'll kill you. So, but you have very strong corner position here, right? So you're in right under the timer, right? Okay. Go aggressive as you reversal you here. Trade. Ooh, okay. Oh, this is it, right? Yeah. So. Yeah. So how did that happen, right? So you're in a dominating position here. You go for a drive rush. Right? He checks it with a jab again. Alright. It forces a trade. And then you press something where it wouldn't reach, right? You see here, you're pretty plus here after this. Right? So I think you probably could have pressed like a crouching medium kick here, and that might have actually hit. Or something else. Let's see. So there's a trade. Yeah. So in that situation on that trade. Yeah. So I think that was a little bit of you not maybe being ready for the trade combo there. A lot of times after these types of trades, and this is something you'll probably pick up as this happens to you more and more. I just happen to it happens to me more than often than you think, so I'm just kind of like ready for it. But on these sort of trades where you're using Drive Rush, typically you end up pretty plus, right? Because the amount of recovery that you apply to the opponent is, it's higher, right? Because of the Drive Rush. So you get a little bit of plus frames from that, plus the oh, Gino, thanks for sub with the Prime. You get a little more plus frames from that in general, right? I think even without Drive Rush, if we look at that situation, it probably would have been, you probably would have been able to trade anyway. Like if you just traded with a stand heavy punch here, you probably would have been able to trade with a 7 for 8 framer, right? But unfortunately here you weren't quite ready, and that kind of cost you here, right? So if you were ready, that's definitely a full combo, right? Well, I don't actually know the conversion, but right. So then that's not, and obviously it didn't quite work and it's not real, but you can see that conversion would have been pretty straightforward, I think, for you as the Terry player, right? So just be ready in those trade situations. They happen more often than you think. And even if you aren't sure, just try it, right? If you trade with the stand heavy punch and they hit you with something else and it trades, go for a crouch and medium kick there, right? And see what happens. It'll more than often, more likely work than it shouldn't. It's kind of funny, but it does, right? So. And then I think, unfortunately, if we go from here, so that's one aspect. Then if we continue on, so you whiff, he parries. So we're back to neutral here, right? And then a Drive Rush, and I think you don't check, right? You try to, oh, he tried to throw? So likely what happened here is you land this. Right, whiff. And then you were trying to walk up throw, and they just happened to buffer their Drive Rush out of the parry, right? So that happens. You get hit. Yep. So yeah, I think that's just an unfortunate sequencing selection from you, right? You try to go for the throw on reaction to the parry, I'm assuming. So you saw the parry. And then you try to walk up throw, and he buffers the Drive Rush there. So that's tough. I think that after the trade, if you really weren't sure and you whiffed that button, I think just continuing to block here would be okay, right? Be okay with losing your turn in that scenario. Because if the Bison does this, they have a strike throw, and you could potentially reversal here to do something else. But I think that when you try to throw them is what ended up getting you, right? Is that you saw the parry, you try to walk up, and then they just Drive Rush out of it, right? And you can't check it, so. And then unfortunately a combo there. So if we go back a little bit here, before that trade, what you did was you were standing there, you went for a Drive Rush, right? Raw Drive Rush from the situation. What I think you could have done, and this is something you'll have to work on, I think, overall, is that if you had elected to play a little bit less aggressive in this scenario right here, from here, right? So if you decided to not Drive Rush here and just kind of play neutral here, I think you have a better chance of winning. Mostly because it looked like you have actually been beating this Bison in neutral. Like we saw that earlier situation where you're able to kind of press buttons and they're getting counter hit and stuff. So now that they can adjust space, I'm willing to bet that you'd be able to take them in the scenario here, right? You'd be able to poke at them, force them to try to reversal potentially or whatever, but I think you'd be able to land a Drive Rush cancelable button from here, right? So, use your normals, bully them with the space. You don't necessarily need to use Drive Rush in the scenario, right? You're kind of too close anyway. Like if you're standing back here, maybe makes sense because the button will come out and it'll be meaty, and if they went for that jab, they would have gotten counter hit. But from here, you're a little too close. So I think trying to play a little less aggressive, a little more conservative maybe, and just be willing to like press buttons and then DP the jump out. Then when they try it, I think might have been a better overall plan than trying to win it right here, right now, right? Because you're up around, you're in a dominating position here. You don't necessarily need to win it right now, although it'd be nice, I guess. But you end up going for the aggressive option, and then you end up dying for it, right? And then this whole sequence happens, right? So yeah, I think like when you were talking about how to generate pressure, and how like you kind of fall apart there, I think a big reason for that is because you're not what you're not doing currently is using your normals to generate pressure, right? So pressure can mean a couple of different things, right? It's not just like pressing buttons on somebody when and being able to have them block all your buttons. You can also generate pressure just by moving, right? So by standing at specific spacing, you create pressure on the opponent to react to that, right? So if you're standing where you were standing this time, right? And obviously maybe not while you're getting hit here, but if you're standing here, right, the Bison will be under an enormous amount of pressure even though you're not pressing anything, right? They have to get out of the corner because they could get DI'd, right? They can't quite jump out. They have to try to fight their way out with buttons, and you can do anything, right? They check the drive rush, but they're on their side. They're feeling that because they're in a situation where they could lose, right? So, just standing outside this range, using your normals to try to bully them in the corner here, I think would be the way to go, and that's a very good way and stable way to generate pressure overall, right? Because again, if you're standing here, if the Bison tries to doubles reverse or rise or jump, you can DP them, right? If they try to do something aggressive like a drive rush, if you were ready for it here at this spacing, you'd probably be able to check it, right? So if you, from here, right? So if you didn't go for the throw and just waited, you probably could have checked that drive rush with that button, right? In fact, if you had buffered the crouching medium punch here, right? That's you check it and win the game from there, right? So again, it's not only about making the opponent block everything. It's also making the opponent, giving them enough rope to hang themselves with, right? Or enough space to make a mistake, if that's if that's a better way to say that, right? So yeah, let's go to the next round. So what do you think so far? Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, that sounds
okay.
It's reasonable.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Ooh, I hate when Bisons do this, man. It tilts me to no end. Alright, so converts. Alright, so bomb plant. Okay, scenario for them. And the Bison likes to do nothing here, right? He has bomb on you, just waits. And you're able to burn knuckle. Okay, that was actually pretty dope. What were they doing? What was Bison doing here? Oh, they're pressing something, huh? I guess. Okay, well, counter hits him out of it. Okay. Not bad if it's a pretty good check bait, right? If they try to check you with like a button, it'll tag them, right? Yeah, 100%, right? If they press there to try to check that, you're gonna hit them, right? So I don't mind it. A bit risky though. You end up taking the light scissors here. Plus the situation. Are you gonna reversal? Let's see. Oh, okay. Good. So you block. Probably because you got DP. Your DP got blocked last time. So the Bison does go for a little bit of a shimmy here. You don't bite. So they kind of wish punish with the stand heavy kick, right? So they don't. It doesn't look like they're confirming anything. They're just pressing this because you didn't bite on the shimmy. Because if you had gone for a delay tech here, this tags you, right? So it looks like they're kind of autopiloting the stand heavy kick. Right. And then you get hit after that because stand heavy kick on block is -2, but you don't press right away. Ah, okay. So here, even though you're -2, you press an 8-framer, right? And they press a 6-framer. So you're late by 1 frame, so that kind of leads into this a little bit. You took a turn back aggressively here, but I think the issue was that because it was on hit, since Bison was only -2, and they tried to press their 6-frame here to try to steal the turn, what happens is that because you're late and press a slower button, they're able to counter hit you here. So typically in this situation, after this, right here, since you're only +2, you could have jabbed, right? If you had mash jab here, it would probably hit him. Maybe not. That's space traps too, huh? That's disgusting. Right, so if you mash a 6-frame, it trades that too, right? So That's a little bit gross, actually. How to deal with that. So obviously a 4-framer won't work there. So it's a little bit of a space trap from the Bison side. I do think that hey, Flex. I do think that trying to if you're gonna mash, make sure you're on top of it, right? Don't be late on that, because if you force a trade, then his pressure ends, right? He can't hit you anymore. So if you're gonna mash that. I think again, looking back on the situation and looking at how it played out, pressing a 4-frame probably doesn't make sense because it pushes you out too far. But trying to be aggressively taking a turn back there is not a bad idea, right? -2, they can't throw. So if they press their 6-framer there, you could probably say, no, I think 5-frame, right? Let's see. Man, that's stupid. Everything whiffs? That's crazy. Okay. All right. So maybe you don't press there. That's just like a lab thing. I don't know. But you'll have to get a sense of that, right? If you're trying to if you're not sure, you take a turn back and you get counter hit for it, then maybe that's something you pay attention to next round, or next time that happens. So you just have to be careful there. Again, I do think that if you were to mash what you were mashing and it was on time, you forced the trade, and that's actually, I think, a little bit better, right? As terms of aggressive option. Now, the other option is just block, right? You're not at a space where you can hit your 5-frame or 4-frame to take that back, so you just block, right? You could also do that and notice if the Bison does something aggressive here after that, like they're trying to steal a turn, you can whiff punish it, right? So let's see if you can do it here. Oh. Right. So that's also something you can consider doing. If the Bison is being aggressive and trying to steal the turn back, and they do it by doing this sort of space trap wish punish where they autopilot the button after, and you notice this happening, right? You can just block, kind of wait and see what they do, and then try to whiff punish the button they press, right? So you can whiff punish with that. You can also do something like this, right? Like sweep, right? Through that. So, and you can tell that I didn't really time it necessarily. I just kind of blocked and then reacted to the button. And this is something that you'll have to get a read on the player, right? If they're doing that or not. Because some Bisons won't do that, right? Some Bisons will press, they'll take their +2 and then, or -2, and then they'll just not press anything, right? And then you can wait. You don't have to necessarily like take your turn back aggressively on in that situation. You could just as easily try to whiff punish your follow-up button, because the spacing that we just looked at showed that a space trap is possible here because you can't quite press your 4-frame. But what that also means is that when they extend their hurt box into your space, you can potentially tag it with your own button. So a little bit of patience, a little bit of watching what your opponent does before you press your button to take your turn back could go a long way here, right? This Bison's pretty aggressive, right? He likes to press after. He has been pressing on his minus frames in a couple situations, and then he uses scissor kicks and then tries to put you in a mix-up, right? So, again, if you had just blocked, waited, I think that this is super react. I think this is well within reason of reacting, right? So, block, right, and you should be able to do that from there, right? So, this is something just to help change your perspective on terms of like, how do I take my turn back, or how do I generate pressure? And sometimes it's stuff like this where it's not really like, it wasn't like a full on like you just took the turn or stole it or landed a clean hit. In that case, it was more like you took advantage of what the opponent was doing and then landed your own hit that way, right? So it might be, you don't have to change your entire game plan to be like this. This is very difficult to do. Like in real time, even higher level players may not be able to notice that, but it is something to consider doing more often, right? Especially in situations where your neutral skips no longer work, right? If they're not working anymore, you gotta do something else, and this could be the other thing you do, right? So, all right. Fortunately, you get counter hit, bomb plant, crusher, bomb plant plus flames. Are you gonna reversal here? You tried. No, you delayed tech, I guess, and got hit. Okay. So I think this is something you'll have to work on in the lab. I think your delay techs are a little bit early. If this is an instant tech and you're planning on that, I think then it got hit. But if this is supposed to be a delay tech, it's a little early. So, so if we actually look at what that should have probably looked like. Probably something like this would be my guess. Okay, so he actually puts in a gap there, huh? Alright, so that actually is a little bit filthy. If you delay tech twice here, he actually gets you with that timing, with the next button timing. So delay teching the first and then blocking, probably not a bad idea here if you recognize that as like the thing he's doing. So, but also maybe don't read into that too much what just happened here, because the Bison CPU is just doing what would happen on hit, right? So clearly that beats the delay tech if they do that, but if we look at how the timings you wanted the tech from there, you probably want to delay that by another 3 to 4 frames, right? So it looked like you were a little bit early. So you can see if I try to do this at the correct timing, right, I don't get hit, right? But if we look at what happens for you, your tech comes out a little too early here, right? So anyway, something to work on in lab. You know, just make sure that your delay tech is 5 to 7 frames after you wake up. Right. I think they're gonna super you here, right? Level 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is death, right? So, yeah, so if we take this whole thing back, right? Okay. Good burn knuckle here. We go through this, right? Right. So there, I think if you track it back to this interaction here, this is how you ended up in the corner. You lost this one. Get counter hit here. Right. And then you get counter hit here, right? So it's really those 3 interactions that I think ended up costing you, and I think it was really just a defensive decision that could have went a different way, right? The delay tech here, correct decision, but the execution wasn't there, so that's why you got hit. This situation, you made a hard read on what they were gonna do, and they didn't bite, so you ended up taking a 4-frame punish here. And then here, you defend this correctly, right? You don't bite on the shimmy, you don't get hit here. But you get space trapped a little bit here, right? They just press through this, and then it counter hits you through this, right? So, and this one actually is also a little bit of an execution issue, mostly because you're a frame late, right? So again, if you had pressed that same button, timely, even if you press that was 8 frames, right? Sorry, that one will get hit, right? Unfortunately. So, wait, was it? Let's see. Right, so that's 6 frames, so it trades. And Bison's just me, so this should actually trade. Am I doing this wrong? Let's see. Oh, maybe is Terry's stand medium kick not that? I think it's maybe a little bit slower. Let's see. Oh, it's 9 frame. Okay. So yeah, that's a little bit tough. Trying to press a 9 frame in that situation, I will say, is I wouldn't necessarily advise that for the most part, because a lot of Bison's buttons, the ones that'll get you, are like 6 frames, right? So a +2 means you can't really press that. So you do want to press something like in the 6 frame if you can, given that range, right? So, but yeah, so that one, a little bit of a button selection thing. If you press something else and force to trade or continue to block, would be fine. And then the final thing was that you delay, again, missed the delay tech, right? So. Cool. So I was like, what's happening here? And it's because the the thing was still in player control. I was like, why is the Bison stop moving? If you look at this, right? So. And then level 2, right? So, really, I think where I think you can improve from here, for the most part, is mostly around defensive decisions on block, right? When you're minus in mix-up situations, be willing to block a little bit more. Maybe don't be so super aggressive taking your turn back in situations where you're not quite sure if the space will reach, right? Additionally, in like plus-minus situations, I think that typically speaking, and this is not a hard and fast rule, but I wouldn't try to press anything faster or slower than like 6 frames in -1 or -2 situations, for the most part, right? The reason for that is because if you're late, like what happened here, or even if you were on time, like the 9-framer is gonna lose to the 6-frame that was happening, right? And that's what Bison ended up pressing. So you just have to be careful about your button selection there. Be willing to press faster buttons if the space allows you to do so. Now the space didn't really allow you to do so there, so you had to press something a little bit bigger. Which in that case, I think pressing your crouching medium punch or crouching medium kick might have been more appropriate, right? That might have been the right way to go, but you know, that's the thing. Pressing a longer range like that with a little bit slower might not have been, you know, obviously didn't quite work out, right? Even if you were on time. So, and then again, some execution stuff around delay text and stuff, you can probably clean that up, no big deal. And then on offensive side, again, we looked at the situation where we had them cornered. Be willing to kind of keep them cornered in that scenario, right? Be willing to use your normals to bully them and keep them in the corner, anti-air them when they jump, and then try to mix up what you do once they stop pressing, right? So like what will eventually happen if you're able to counter poke them effectively is they'll stop pressing and you can just start walk up throwing them, right? Or like trying to bait them into something else, right? But the idea would be that you want to give them some space so that they can make a mistake, right? If you're constantly on top of them trying to press buttons, it kind of opens you up a little bit because then it's like pure guess. They can just reversal you or, you know, make a hard read on what you're doing and get out of the corner and eventually potentially turn the round around or turn the match around. So cool. Let's see how we're doing on time. Great. I think we have time for one more replay, so let's take a look at it. Look at that one where you won around here. I think I have it on my replay list. Let's see. This one. All right, so you took a round here. So let's take a look at this one. Flex, you're so funny, dude. Flexium's in chat telling you not to. No. You guys, it's gonna be good tomorrow. I'll plug this right now. It's gonna be a good set from you guys tomorrow. I'm super excited to commentate on that, by the way. So, cool. So, this is game 2. You won the first round here, right? So let's see what was working for you here. So I will say anti-airing. You probably need to work on that a little bit. I did land a good amount of jump-ins, even though you block. Not the worst in the world, but you do want to be able to DP those. Good D-Rev. Right. So here, what actually happened was I'm trying to counter poke you. So I'm not actually like reacting to the burn knuckle here. What I actually do is I walk up into your space, expecting you to press something, and I just press this, right, and it lands. Right. So you just have to be careful about using burn knuckle in neutral at that spacing is all. I don't convert because I miss it, but you know, good. Throw. So you can see, right, like even I have a ton of meter here, and on a forward throw, I could get Oki by drive rushing in, but I don't necessarily want to force that situation from you, right? I kind of want to just continue walking to the corner. I'm a little conservative here. And what this is allowing me to do, and this is something that you want to consider more, is that, like, after this throw happens, back tech, if I drive rush here and force an Oki situation, you could reversal me. Right, you could do some sort of wake up option here that beats whatever I'm going to come in, right? Like if I force the mix up here, it gives you an opportunity to guess correctly, right? But if I do this, you can't reversal me here, right? I can block now, right? Like if you try to reversal, it's going to get blocked, right? Your options are now, we're playing neutral again, but I have a little bit of advantage now because I'm closer to you, right? So even though actually, so you have 1 frame of advantage here, but you know, it's hard to tell that that's the case. But the point is that I'm not allowing you an opportunity to reversal me or make a defensive decision, right? You just stand up and we go back to play neutral, right? And I do this intentionally because I've been able to kind of bully you in neutral so far, right? So if I'm winning in a certain phase of the game, I want to keep us in that phase of the game as much as we can, right? And similar for you, if you feel like you're able to beat someone in Oki situations more often than not, like you want to keep them guessing, then it totally makes sense to drive rush in, right? Press the button, get the plus frames, lay button on them, mix them up. But in this case here, it's obviously a little bit more stable in terms of like risk, right? It's less risky for me to play this way because it removes your ability to outguess me, if that makes sense, right? It removes the Oki situation, right? We're back to neutral. Right, so I'm trying to counter poke you here, like as you're walking up. Don't really bite. Good space, stand medium kick here, right? I can't really get anything from that. Right, I don't block this correctly. And then now we're in your game, right? So take a hit, drive rush, plus frames, right? Or would have been if you land a button. I try to parry and you throw me. Drive rush again, right? Nope. Okay. So you see there, right? Like that scenario there, I couldn't reversal you. I couldn't do anything there. I just have to block and stand back up, right? I don't have to. You don't necessarily have to continue pressuring me like that, right? You can just go back to neutral with the advantage that you've taken. So you're doing a good job so far, right? I mean, spacing wise, you've landed some hits. So have I, but it's been you're playing this round a lot closer, standing closer to me than you have been in previous rounds. The jump because I'm punished. DP that I can't do. Alright, plus frames. Tag me, yep. Nice. Good throw. Alright. Get the DP. Oh, I didn't cancel. And then you whiff punished my sweep with a burn knuckle, right? So, like, you saw the effectiveness in that game, right? How much better that was for you, where you were standing at a range where your pokes were actually effective, and how that forced me to react to that, right? I had to actually adapt my neutral to what you're doing, right? And you're able to win the game from there. So, good check. Nice. Right. By this point, I had noticed that you weren't really DPing me, so that's why I'm jumping more, right? So if you can't prove that you can't anti-air me here, then I think the correct play from your opponent is to continue jumping, right? So it's just something you have to work on. Of course, I can't anti-air either, so you should continue jumping as well. Alright, get hit by the driver shuttle ball, and then reversal, right? So I think I even said it on stream that he might reversal here. And unfortunately, that's what happens. And I get hit, actually, because I went for throw. So I take that back. He totally got me. I think it's a different situation. That was good, though. I was surprised that I went for throw there, but that's what it is. Alright, so now the situation here is that you don't have super anymore. You just landed it, but you have a ton of meter. So how do you proceed from here, right? I don't know if Terry actually gets Oki from that scenario, so doing this I think is totally fine. The whiff throw, though, is tough. Because I think I just super you here. I don't mess around with that. Yeah, okay. So whiffing the throw there is actually kind of rough. I'm not going to lie to you. Right? Yeah. So that would have worked, too. I'm not actually pressing anything here. You see, I don't have a defensive option here. I'm just blocking. So, in these scenarios where you do the dry brush heavy punch and it puts you outside of throw range here, you just have to be careful about when you're going to throw. So you do have to walk up here if you wanted this to be a throw, right? Right, you do have to walk up, right? Because obviously going for throw here is whiffing. So if you are going to walk up, just make sure that you're in the right range. That's all. I think it's just a matter of practice for that, right? So drive rush, do the drive rush, have the opponent parry it or block it or whatever, and then see exactly how far forward you have to walk to throw, right? So, and then I super you from there, right? So you want to see that. All right, so now we're back to this range here, and I think this range has been less effective for you overall in terms of trying to deal with how I'm playing the game, right? So. Right, so you walk up and hit me. Good. Nice. You don't bite on the shimmy, but you get counter hit here, right? Right? Okay. So we both go for this for the crouch and medium kick here, right? A little bit delayed because I think we're both waiting to see if each other presses the button. I just happen to press sooner than you, right? So a little bit of bad luck on your part. I like the idea though. The delayed crouch and medium kick after like a block button is a pretty common tactic. At least I use it a lot since players like to try to move after that. So it's just unfortunate that I happened to press before you did, right? So you can see I'm clearly pressing before you, right? So unfortunate, but that would have worked. So I like the idea. All right, throw looping. And then I managed to block a reversal here, right? And I think this is where you die. Oh no, I dropped the combo here, I think. Right? So here's your chance to come back into it, right? Ugh. Alright, good reversal. Alright, so now you're in a position where I'm burned out, right? And you have a chance to get back to this. Let's see what happens. Oh, and you get whiff punished by a sweep, unfortunately. Let's go. Oh, I was going to say the music stopped, but... Right, yeah, I will say that where you want to go from here, I think, is you want to start standing a little bit closer, trying to be inside of Terry's stand medium kick range, probably. That's because that button is really good for poking and being able to kind of control space. And then once your opponent has to deal with that, that's when you can start kind of walking in and pressing like low forwards and other stuff, right? Neutral skip tools can be strong, right? So burn knuckling at the right spacing to cause plus frames is also really good. So if you can get good at that, that's also worth doing with Terry, right? Getting plus frames there. But like crack shooting over stuff, I've seen Terry's do that. I don't know how effective that is in a longer term, but I've seen it. So you have some tools there to get around neutral. But what I will say is that those tools become better with a solid neutral game behind it. So if you can control space effectively, and my brain is now having to consider your neutral game, when you do those neutral skips, I'm not necessarily ready for it, and that's when it works, right? It works better. So yeah, those things. And then defensively, reversal less, probably continue blocking a little more. Selecting reversal I think is totally fine. You do have to represent that option. But you do also need to select that less because the punish for it is so strong, right? So if you whiff your DP, it's blocked or whatever, you can die from it. Right? That's what happened here. You went for reversal level 1 and you died, and I died, or you died for it, right? But you did have some good reversal timings, right? Like you picked the right spot to do it. So I don't think I want to take that away from you necessarily because I think that's good. I just think that you need to reverse a little bit less. Be willing to do things like just block, right? Maybe delay tech, maybe delay button, maybe pick a different defensive option that is not as active, right? Overall. So, yeah. So those two things. So, and then we talked about execution, which is just execution, lab work, no big deal. So that's for like combo drops as well as like delay tech timing, that type of thing. Then anti-airs, right? Everyone could probably do better at that. So just be willing to focus on that and be ready for that more often, right? So, but yeah, otherwise I think once you were standing in that space where crouching or stand medium kick could reach, I thought you did a lot better, right? So be willing to learn to live in that space, right? Because when you talk about playing other against Ken, especially like Shotos in particular, right? That's what they do, is they play for that space control. So cool, man. So what do you think so far? Any burning questions, anything like that?
No, just that. I'm just glad to have it more bullet point format.
Yeah, it can be tough, right? Because your initial question was, how do I generate pressure, right? And the unfortunate answer is that there's a lot of that kind of goes into that, right? It's not just being able to enforce plus frames and all that. You have to give yourself an opportunity to generate those situations for yourself, right? And the way you do that is by winning more neutral interactions, right? So, because basically when I'm playing when we were playing and we were in kind of that neutral space, I think in a sense that you actually have a good sense of what the opponent is doing and you're able to press buttons effectively. I just think that you haven't spent a lot of time there. So the more time you spend in that space, in that spacing rather, and in those situations, the more comfortable you'll be. And then once you're more comfortable, Terry can space trap and play the Shoto space control game as well as anyone else, right? So once you're there, that Terry's gonna climb for sure. So cool, man. Do you have time to run it back? You want to know the first three?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So you guys pumped for tomorrow, man? It's gonna be dope. I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great. All right, man. Let's go ahead and queue up. I'll leave the mics hot so we can talk through it, and we'll go from there.
All right.
Get a good night's sleep though, guys, for sure. It's so funny, man. Appreciate you guys coming out though. Thanks for watching and taking the chats and stuff. Really do appreciate it. So yeah, I really I think that if you try to stand in a more uncomfortable space for you, it'll be better. Ooh, I like it. Hey, Kingbacks. The set's gonna be streamed on FightRise's FGC channel. So that's gonna be twitch.tv/FightRiseFGC. There's more information on the Discord, I just put it in chat. If you want to take a look at that, fightrise.com/Discord. Alright. There you go. Nice. There you go. There you go. That's how you do it right there. Nice. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Oh! Ooh, that was close. But I like the adjustment though, right? I know it's not quite, maybe, you know, it's a little uncomfortable for now, but you can see how much more effective it is when you're doing that versus just like continuously trying to skip neutral, right? Because then if I'm checking that stuff for getting hit, but here it's like I have to interact with these buttons, right? And you're able to land some hits, so that's good. Oh, nice. 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 Nice, nice. So, again, very, very stable, right? Very low risk, and you're able to get conversions and kill me, right? So it's good. Couple of bad guesses there. That's how it goes though. Against Ken, mix up in the corner. Nice. Oh, nice sweep. Uh-oh. Oh, no, level 3? Oh, he tried there, huh? Oh, no! Nice! That was sick. But yeah, but you can see how different I have to play now when you're not just like standing far away and throwing those neutral skits, right? So this is working really well for you, I think. Nice. Uh-oh. Nice. There you go. I like it. I like it. So very stable corner pressure, right? Going for the throw loops and stuff. Very good. All right, now let's sprinkle that in. That's good. Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah.
Keep at 1700 is good, man. Mad good. Nice, nice. Oh, it dropped. Oh, dropped it. Joe, missed the DP, but again, good stuff. This is good stuff, right? I can already see kind of an improvement overall in terms of the gameplay, and I feel like you're starting to get a little more comfortable at the in that mid range. So, good stuff. Ooh. Nice. Oh, that was sick. Unfortunate. I think if you had more meter there, you would have been able to counter DI me.
That catches?
Yeah, absurd, right? Ken privilege. Nice. That was a nice TP. Nice TP, there you go. Oh, the driver's throw again. I managed to kind of sneak that one by you, but we saw the result though, right? I think like for Terry especially, if you're playing at that kind of dangerous range, this is you know, you saw the improvement, right? Again, it's just gonna take a little bit for you to get comfortable and be willing
Like
to
night and day.
but yeah, huge, right? Like you didn't feel a pressure to have to get in. You didn't feel pressure to have to like make these hard reads. You're able to kind of stand in neutral, stand your ground a little bit, and then when you land interaction, like when you win interactions, then your Oki comes from that, right? You don't have to force anything necessarily, and you can also choose not to, right? You can also just take the knockdown, take up the space, especially mid-screen, and then go from there, right? You don't have to necessarily force an Oki situation. But yeah, it was totally night and day, right? In terms, if you look at this replay and they look at the previous set, totally different player, right? In terms of like what the priorities are in game, like the game plan overall. So playing in this stable-ish manner, again, if you do that and then you sprinkle in some of the burn knuckles and the crack shoots and all that stuff. That stuff gets way better all of a sudden because you have to deal with so much, and then boom, right? All of a sudden, your game plan seems to work way more effectively, right? So, great stuff, man. That was really sick to see. I know the result was 3-1 and maybe you didn't win it, but man, that was night and day for me for sure. Like playing you, so cool, man. With that said, do you have anything else before we wrap up?
Nope, that's good for me.
Perfect, man. So I'm super excited for tomorrow. So I'm just gonna do the Discord plugs and all that stuff. So feel free to hang out if you want to. I'm gonna meet you on the stream, so you don't have to hear me talk or anything like that. But yeah, if nothing else, man, feel free to hang out. Otherwise, have a good night.
Yep, have a good night.
Well, thanks guys for watching. It's been Sit Down and Shut Up. You know, I run these through the Fight Rise Discord. Fight Rise is a fighting game community. They do bi-weekly events through their One Fight Stand series. It's basically a bi-weekly Swiss tournament. So if you're in Master or above, you know, Master, whatever, you get to run a 7-round Swiss tournament with the Master pool. And if you're lower rank, you get into a round robin pool. So typically there's like 8 to 10 players. So you get 8 rounds of, or it's usually 7 rounds rather, round robin. So it's a good way to get some tournament sets in a lower, sort of more casual setting. So that's been great. They also do their fighter showcases, community showcases through their Urge to Fight series. There's one coming up tomorrow night on the Fight Rise FGC channel. So I posted a Discord in the chat. Let me just resurface that, I guess, so that you guys see it. Feel free to take a look at the Fight Rise Discord and check them out at twitch.tv/FightRiseFGC. I'll be commentating on the matches there. We have some great matches coming up. So MexicanAvenger is going to be playing Flexium in one of the undercards. We also have Fenshep playing in the main event. So it's going to be a great time. I'll be commentating with the Fight Rise crew. So it's always good. So if you guys want to have nothing to do on a Sunday evening or feel like hanging out, feel free to come by, hang out, and watch some great games. I also want to plug their Big League KO. So Big League KO is basically a round robin format, 8-man pools or 8-person pools. And you basically play a round robin and it's scheduled out for 5 weeks. So you end up playing 2 matches a week, right? And the last week you get a 1 match plus a makeup if anything's missed. All the sets are 1st to 5, so you get a pool with players that are about your skill level more or less based on MR and other things, a couple of other factors. Then you play round robins over the course of 5-ish weeks, and then the winner gets a cool Discord tag, right? There's also a showcase for it at the end where we do a little tournament at the end of that too. So really cool event to join. So if you're interested in any of those things, please join the Fight Rise Discord. It's a great community. I run this through them, so if you are interested in a session like this for yourself, again, join the Fight Rise Discord. Take a look for a channel called Sit Down and Shut Up. Take a look at the pin messages, and you'll see how you can sign up for it and get a session like this, right? Cool. So that's all that. And then I'm also part of the Newbie Fight Club. So the Newbie Fight Club is another fighting game community focused on helping newer players get into the game. They run lobby nights Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Again, Discord is in the chat link, right? For Newbie Fight Club. Again, lobby nights Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They run tournaments every 2 weeks or so. Typically, I forget exactly the schedule, but it is every other week. Typically, they run something. And they also do EU events as well. Actually, both Discords now are starting to do more EU events. So for my EU friends and non-US friends, US time zone friends, feel free to join those communities, find some players there, play games. And yeah, I'm pretty active on both those Discords. So if you ever want to get sets with me or chat with me about stuff, I'm always open. So just hit me up in either of those Discords. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about for sure. Cool. So other than that, I know I don't chat as much, probably with interact with chat as much. So I appreciate you guys hanging out and watching. I try my best to interact when it's appropriate. Obviously, my focus is typically on the person I'm working with. So again, appreciate you guys. I do appreciate all your messages, your follows, your subs, and all that good stuff. It really does help out and all that. So yeah, again, thank you guys for watching and have a good night.